Ever feel like your espresso setup is missing that one crucial foundation piece? Like you've got the beautiful machine, the fancy tamper, but the grinder feels a little bit like a bottleneck. It's a little bit meh. Here's the thing. The grinder is the engine to your espresso setup. It's where the magic happens or the disaster begins. And when you think about legendary grinding, one name does come to mind: Mahlkonig, the self-proclaimed king of grinders. But they have traditionally reigned over the commercial world with titans like the EK43 and actually my personal favourite all-time grinder, the E64S. So, when they drop a home grinder, the expectations aren't just high, they're stratospheric. Today, we're putting the Mahlkonig X64SD single-dose grinder to the test. Is this the long-awaited home barista monarch, or just a well-dressed pretender? Quick note, if you're like me, always chasing that next piece of gear or that next bag of coffee, check out our Brew Points. It's our free members loyalty program where every dollar you spend earns you points that go towards exclusive deals, early access, and even product drops. It's totally free to join, and it's a great way to make every coffee purchase work harder for you. I've dropped a link in the description down below. Check it out. Let's now get into the video. First, let's talk about those expectations. When I pick up a Mahlkonig grinder, it's about 5 kilos, I expect superb manufacturing. I can tell you the X64SD delivers on that front. This thing is every bit a Mahlkonig grinder. It feels solid, it's impeccably built, the design is clean, industrial, and purposeful. But commercial heritage can have a double-edged sword. While their commercial grinders are absolute industry benchmarks, Mahlkonig's previous foray into the home market, the X54, honestly didn't quite hold up to the hype. It was good, but it didn't redefine the category. The X64SD may be aiming to change that narrative. It's built for the modern home barista, the one who switches between espresso and filter, the one who buys a different single origin every week, and the one who demands minimal retention and ultimate flexibility. So it solves the problem of having to compromise a do-it-all grinder that's only okay at everything. This is designed to be simple, straightforward, and a dream to use. Or so the workflow suggests. Now, the most exciting part, and the one that opens up the most possibilities, is the inclusion of 64mm burrs. Now, we'll talk about the stock burrs in a moment, but the fact that these are a standard size burr means, theoretically, I'm able to swap in a whole ecosystem of third-party burrs, and that is a game changer for people who love to tinker and optimize their grinders. Though, in classic Mahlkonig fashion, they don't exactly recommend this, yet I'm pretty sure that won't stop any dedicated home barista, and this honestly is a huge point in favor to this grinder. Now, the core of the X64SD experience is its single dosing workflow, and the design team clearly put in huge effort here. That hopper system out of the box has a thoughtful array of accessories, and it's a modular system. I've got several hopper options ranging from a small 30-gram dose up to 100 grams with the extension and the bellows. This is fantastic when I want to grind a large batch for filter brewing, or I can just dial in a single dose of espresso. Personally, my favorite is the extension with the hopper, as I can see what's going inside the bean funnel as well as using the bellows. The bellows attachment is key for driving out retention. I load the beans, grind, and then give the bellows a few satisfying pumps, and it's all good. Yet, I'll be honest, no grinder I have ever tested is truly 100% retention free. It's a game of minimizing exchange. With the X64SD, I've consistently seen a retention and exchange rate of around 0.2 to 0.4 grams. And what this means is that on the very first grind with a clean machine, it will consume and hold on to about 0.4 grams of coffee. Then for every subsequent dose, that old coffee is exchanged with the fresh dose. So whilst not zero, I would say it is impressively low, predictable, and easily managed through using the bellows. Then underneath, you have the bean funnel, which is protected by a popcorn screen. This is a necessary addition because, candidly, popcorning is quite significant on this grinder. Why? Because the burrs spin incredibly fast, up to 1,950 RPM, not under load. Now, for those new to this, popcorning is when whole beans bounce around in the grinder and don't feed into the burrs consistently, and this can cause an uneven grinding pattern. So a trick that I found that really helps with performance is to not hot start the grinder. So that means I'm actually going to be loading my beans in before I hit the power switch rather than adding the beans whilst the grinder's already running. And this helps those fast spinning burrs catch and crush the beans more efficiently. And I've honestly seen a noticeable decrease in the popcorning too once the full dose is in the burr chamber before I turn the grinder on. Now the grind adjustment dial, this goes from 0 to 12 and is geared for an incredibly fine tactile control. We're talking about micro adjustments in espresso, and even just 1 or 2 small notches can make a noticeable difference to the shot time. However, be warned. If you're someone who often switches between espresso and pour over, this is going to feel like a workout. To go from a tight espresso setting all the way up to a coarse filter grind, I've found requires 17 turns of my wrist, and I feel every millimeter of that grind spectrum. It's precise, but it can be a little time consuming if switching back and forth daily. The good news is this grinder does offer the full range, from almost Turkish fine all the way up to cold brew coarse. It's also easily calibrated. What you need to do is adjust the grind dial all the way back to 0, then pull back on the number dial and continue to adjust the grinder finer to set the 0 point right where the burrs start to chirp. This is a very user-friendly calibration mechanism that I think Mahlkonig have mastered. Then finally, at the heart of it, the 64mm bimodal burr set. These are rated for 500 kilograms of coffee. Now, that might sound low compared to commercial juggernauts, but in a home setting, grinding even 1 kilogram a week, which is a lot of coffee, that's close to 10 years of lifespan for this grinder's burrs, which does squarely put this grinder in the premium home coffee category, and I probably wouldn't look at this grinder for commercial use. Crucially, and this is a big takeaway, season these burrs. I found I needed to run between 2 to 5 kilograms of sacrificial coffee through this grinder to get past an initial inconsistent phase. Don't judge this grinder on its first few weeks. Give the burrs time to settle in, and that true grind quality will shine through. Trust me, it makes a huge difference. All right, let's now put the metal to the meter. We've talked specs. Let's now talk experience. The X64SD runs a powerful motor drawing 200 watts. It's not slow, so I'm going to be dropping in 20 grams espresso beans, and I've got it set at 1.6, which is a standard espresso grind with a standard espresso roast, and we're just going to see how fast and how noisy it is. Cold start. Start the clock. And it was done. What you heard there was fast. It's not super loud. It's not the quietest grinder on the market, but it's also not running long enough to be an annoyance. This is a quick burst of professional grinding noise. It's not loud at all. Now let's look at the dispensing and collection system. The chute is designed to be removable for cleaning. It pushes up and then twists off. I like the idea, but it's such a short piece of metal tubing, I haven't really seen a major benefit in daily use. Maybe for a deep clean every month or so. Crucially, inside the chute, there's a declumper mechanism designed to break up any static clumps before the grounds fall into the cup. And I have to say, the static situation here is quite well managed. I'm the kind of person who generally RDTs no matter what. Like a quick spritz of water to completely neutralize static is just a habit of mine. But even on days when I have skipped it, just to test, the X64SD handled it pretty well. It's not a severe static maker like some other high-speed 64mm grinders out there, which means I think Mahlkonig has clearly put some thought into the materials and the declumper to keep the grounds relatively neat. That said, if I want zero mess, I'll still be reaching for my RDT bottle. Then underneath the chute is the magnetic catch cup, a standard Mahlkonig design which comes with an extender ring to bring the cup closer to the chute. This is where I have a small bone to pick. Whilst the magnetism in the catch cup is nice, this ring is an extra part to handle every time. It's also one more thing that can sometimes impede the coffee flow out of the dosing cup. Like you need to remove this to dose into your portafilter or your brewer. You can't keep it on because there's a slight edge inside. If you're not careful, it will keep coffee inside. And I really think Mahlkonig should have just built the base up to permanently position the cup closer. This also leads to a noticeable omission. There is no portafilter holder. For a grinder so clearly aimed at the espresso enthusiast, the lack of a simple portafilter fork or holder is a major miss. I have to use this catch cup, and whilst the catch cup holds 50 grams, the hopper can hold 100 grams with the extender, which is a small mismatch in capacity. I also think the lack of RPM adjustment on a 64mm grinder at this price point is a definite oversight. Competitors in this space, and I'm looking squarely at the DF64 or the Time War here, offer that level of control. It makes me wonder, are Mahlkonig aiming to capture a broader market? Or do they simply want to sell to their existing, devoted commercial fan base? Now the $64,000 question. How does the Mahlkonig X64SD actually taste? In this price and performance tier, we've got stiff competition from grinders like the Time War O64S and the Declumping. While all three are excellent single dosing machines, they offer genuinely different flavor experiences, mainly due to the burr geometries. If I were to quickly summarize, the Mahlkonig X64SD delivers the bolder, richer, sweeter, and more viscous coffee of the three. It provides that classic heavy-bodied texture that really shines in milk drinks or with medium to dark roasts. The Declumping, by contrast, provides a more rounded, balanced profile with a velvety texture. It's the safe, reliable middle ground that makes almost any bean taste great. And the Time War O64S gives you the lightest, brightest cup. It really emphasizes clarity and high-toned acidity, which is fantastic for delicate light roasts and intricate pour-overs. So, when you're choosing the Mahlkonig, you are buying into a specific, rich and intense flavor profile that leans into the strengths of its commercial heritage. Keep that flavor signature in mind when you're deciding. So where do I land on the Mahlkonig X64SD? The high points? Manufacturing quality. It is an absolutely superb solid metal construction, built like a tank. Its workflow. When you get past the seasoning phase, the grind quality is exceptional. It's precise, it has low retention thanks to the Bellows, and flexibility. The 64mm standard burr size does open the door to a world of burr upgrades for tinkerers out there. Then its range, it generally handles everything from fine Turkish to cold brew coarse. The trade-offs? The missing features. The lack of a portafilter holder, the lack of RPM adjustment are noticeable omissions on this level. The grind adjustment, whilst precise, the amount of turns need to switch between brewing styles can get tedious for frequent switches. And then the learning curve, you must season these burrs and adopt a not hot start, so cold start technique to get the best out of this grinder. To access the burr chamber for that essential full clean, unlike some grinders where the entire hopper assembly just twists off, here it is all attached by screws. Now, don't be fooled. Once you remove that magnetic top hopper assembly, there are only 3 screws that you need to remove to get into the burr chamber. Once these are removed, there will be an additional 4 screws to remove the top burr assembly. Now, a word of caution here. These are small screws holding it all together, and they demand a proper fitting screwdriver and a gentle touch. Be mindful of cross-threading them and take your time. However, once they are out, you have full access to both the lower burr and the grinding chamber, and this allows for cleaning and, crucially, alignment or burr swapping. Just make sure to return it all back the way it came and have those screws done up nice and tight. Final verdict, the Mahlkonig X64SD coffee grinder. It is a fantastic grinder with a professional core and a few residential quirks. Who is it for? This grinder is for the dedicated espresso lover who values build quality, low retention, and a single dosing workflow, and absolute grind precision above all else. If your routine is 90% espresso, you'll appreciate the hyper-fine tuned dial and the industrial strength of its motor. This is for the barista who understands that the king of grinders demands a certain level of commitment, but the reward is truly excellent and consistent grinds. And this is a grinder, I think, that respects its lineage. Yet it definitely leaves a few features on the table that I hope to see in future Mahlkonig home grinders. Let me know what you think. Do those 64mm burrs and the Mahlkonig build quality make up for the lack of a portafilter holder? And would you have wanted RPM adjustment? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching till the end of this video. We'll see you in the next one.